Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reeder with Future Pastimes. I'm a designer on the second expansion for the classic Dune board game, the Chome and Richesse expansion. And one of the variants that came in that expansion is something called Leader Skills. Now these are cards that are dealt out at the beginning of the game, and players assign a leader skill to a specific leader disc, which they then place out in front of their shield. So it's public knowledge which leaders every faction has chosen and which skill that leader has. And because of that, there's some changes to the setup. So you're actually going to deal out the leader skills after you deal out treachery cards, but before traitors. And that is because some of the leader skills work in tandem with specific types of treachery cards. So we want to give everyone the knowledge of what treachery card they're going to start the game with. Then they're dealt 2 leader skills so that they can choose the best one to fit what they want to do. And then, after they have publicly displayed which leader has which skill, then you do traitors, because it adds another level of intrigue and excitement and tension to the treachery selection there for those leaders. Now, we're doing a deep dive on individual leader skills in this series of videos each week, and we're going to look at a skill called Planetologist. So each leader skill has an effect that either applies to all of your other leaders or is just another advantage that you have, and then a specific skill for that leader. So let's look at what Planetologist does. This one is a general additional advantage that you have by having a Planetologist on staff. So you're going to add 1 to your movement to a maximum of 3. Or, so it's a double. If you don't do that, you may move forces from 2 different territories in a single movement if they have the same destination. So a lot of times you're not going to use that, but this is a especially good one for like the Fremen, who often find themselves spread out and in different sand territories. Or maybe, I certainly have done it as ECAS, I've done it as the guild. So if you can get those forces into the same territory, because you've got the Planetologist out in front of your shield, you can do that. So it's a nice way to consolidate your forces, or just to get an extra movement. So sometimes if you only have 1 movement, that 1 extra can be nice. It's good for the Ixians if they've got cyborgs, which have 2 movement. That lets them bump that up to 3. And Fremen, of course, they normally have 2, and that would bump them up to 3. So if they've got their own kinds working the planetology, then they can take advantage of that. So it can be a very useful skill. You're going to want to keep your Planetologist alive. But you may want to put that Planetologist into a battle. So if this specific leader with this skill, let's say that, Jamis is your Planetologist. If you want to use him in a battle, you may reveal 1 green special card other than a cheap hero, for example, Hajar or Thumper, as part of your battle plan in place of a weapon or a defense. Only just in place of a weapon. It lets you add +2 to this leader disc and then discard that card after the battle. And so, if you don't have a weapon, but you do have one of those green cards, then suddenly you've got a +2. It's almost like having a little bit of weapon. You're not going to kill the other leader, but you've got a little surprise on there. It also foils the Atreides prescience. If they ask to see what weapon you're playing, you can say, I'm not playing a weapon, because you're not. You're just getting that +2 bonus for having a Planetologist in the battle plan. So sometimes with Atreides in the game, they actually want to know which leader you're going to use. And that's another level, because normally they don't bother with that. But if you've got a skill that is enhanced by certain cards, then that knowledge could be very useful. So it's a nice little twist on how things normally play out. So the Planetologist can be very useful if you're like, oh, I've got weather control, but I don't really want to play it. I'd rather get rid of it so that I can buy another treachery card. You don't have to worry about, I'm just going to play it and move the Storm 1, and who cares? You can be like, I could get into a battle and get a +2 there, especially if I don't have a weapon. So it's a nice way to make use of those cards. But most of the time, you're just going to say, you know what? I like having that extra movement, so I'm just going to not risk my Planetologist. But I like to give the players the option. Every once in a while, the stars align, and you say, you know what? I got to risk it. I got to risk this leader in the battle, because I think that +2 would be a nice little surprise. And maybe maybe Stilgar is your planetologist. So he goes from a 7 to a 9 without a weapon because he's, deadly with his hands. At least still, he's not killing a leader, but yeah, he's marshaling the elements. I don't know how you want to describe it, but he's getting more bang for his buck. So that's how the planetologist works. It's very different from a lot of these other skills, but it's really letting you take advantage of everything that Arrakis has to offer, and you're able to leverage your knowledge of the planet and its many storms and moods and ergs, whatever the way you want to interpret that is. Let me know if you have any questions about the planetologist or leader skills in general. And next week we'll have another one. So that's it for this one, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.